security scare that's coming up from Russia. A statement that's been released by Russian Federal Security Agency claiming that they've detained an ISIS bomber in Russia whose target was someone from India, particularly a member from the ruling circles. This is the image that we get, the first image that we get of this the suicide bomber that was apprehended by Russian authorities. Big development coming in on a national threat. And in fact, Russia's security agency has released a detailed statement saying that they've apprehended a suicide bomber. And according to prima facie details, the suicide bomber is a member of the ISIS, the Islamic State terrorist group, who was plotting a terrorist attack in India. They claim that this suicide bomber was targeting someone from the ruling circles of India, clearly indicating that the target was someone from the BJP. Now, who in the BJP? Some kind of clarity needed on that. But this man that you see on your screens here, the first image coming in of Russian security forces there apprehending this man who allegedly is a suicide bomber. As per Russia's statement, they claim that this man is linked with the ISIS. He's a suicide bomber recruited from ISIS, possibly coming in from Turkey. And his target was someone from the ruling circles of India, clearly indicating someone from the BJP was his target. This is the big news that we're currently tracking. Islamic State suicide bomber planning a terrorist attack in India has been detained in Russia. The Islamic State suicide bomber was recruited by one of the ISIS leaders, possibly in Turkey. This is the prima facie information that we get here. The first video right here on India Today. The man on your screens that we show you is the man who's been apprehended by the Russian security forces. The suicide bomber is said to be a native of the country in the Central Asian region. Now, which particular country is Russian security forces referring to needs to be clarified. We'll know that in just moments from now. But this man seems to be a local from the Central Asian region. He's been apprehended in Russia. He was all set to blow himself up against one of the representatives of the ruling circles of India, which very clearly indicates that his target was someone from the BJP top leadership. ISIS State, its suicide bomber found in Russia. Let me quickly cut across to that first visual coming in on the suicide bomber being apprehended by Russian forces.
В 2022 году по указанию Юсуф Таджика я летел в Россию. Я приехал в Россию, откуда должен был выехать в Индию. В Индию меня должен встречать было и необходимо для встречать и дать все необходимые вещи для совершения теракта. По указанию исламского государства за оскорбление пророка Мухаммада.
Man has spoken. I'm going to cut across to Abhishek Bhalla to get some clarity on what exactly the suicide bomber has said while he was apprehended by Russian security forces. Abhishek, this man is in the custody of Russian security forces. He has spoken. What exactly has he said? We believe he was planning a massive attack in this year itself, 2022. That was his target against a senior leader of the BJP.
Well, the information that has been shared by Russian agencies is that, he was looking at targeting somebody from the ruling class, which essentially means somebody in power, somebody in a position of importance. So it was definitely a high-profile target that this man was looking at, working for ISIS. The other information that we have is that, he had traveled to Turkey and he had come back to Russia and was planning to travel from Russia to India to carry out some kind of an attack on a particular individual. So these are the details that have been shared by Russian authorities. And, really perhaps the first of its kind case where an ISIS recruit looking at entering India from another country and then carrying out some kind of an attack. In the past, there have been several ISIS recruits from within India who have looked at traveling to Syria. Some of them were intercepted. Some have managed to go there. Some also in the Afpak region, in what is called ISIS Khorasan. So there have been several Indians who have joined ISIS as recruits, but perhaps the first time where a foreign ISIS recruit was looking to enter India and target a high-profile individual in the country.
This man has spoken right after he was taken into custody by the Russian security forces. Would you by chance are able to translate that for us? Is there any word on what exactly he said?
Well, it's the information that the Russian authorities have shared. To break it down, it's essentially what his plans were, what he had been doing before planning to come here, and basically, looking at targeting a high-profile individual, a VVIP, if we can say so. Some word doing the round that possibly from the BJP, but we wouldn't like to speculate because that's not something that the Russian authorities have said. What they've said is from the ruling class, which if loosely translated or inferred, would mean somebody in power. And if it's somebody in power, it obviously is somebody who's influential and VVIPs, if we can say so. That's the information that has been shared by the Russian authorities.